It's now my great pleasure to introduce Justin Harris, CTO of Ion Technology. Justin has over 20 years of experience in business technology support and management. Some of his primary focus areas are security and cyber protection. And he also serves as a lead mentor for many people ranging from entry level to senior levels of experience. Justin, thanks so much for volunteering your time to be here today.
Thank you for having me. Happy to do it.
So can you tell us a little bit about the company you work for and what it does?
Absolutely. So the company is called Ion Technology, like you mentioned earlier, and we basically have a mix of clients that are what you would consider that would be like more like a business type company, and then we also have clients that are more in entertainment, like whether it's gaming or VR or emerging technologies like Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And our company supports all of the technology needs for a particular organization, whether that was their devices or their laptops, all the way through to computers that would be running the whole setup, like we would call those servers, everything from top to bottom. We help with it, we set it up, we manage it, and basically answer questions if anyone ever needs anything. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So those companies contract with your company for those services?
That's correct, right. So I'm the owner and founder of the company, Ion Technology, and we've been in business for over 20 years, and we've worked with a number of different businesses over the years. At one point, Snoop Dogg was one of my clients. Michael Jackson's company, MJJ Productions, one of my clients. We've had a number of different companies we've worked with on all sorts of different technology needs. And so, yes, so they contract with us and we help them through all sorts of technology support related needs. I've gone to Best Buy with somebody from Snoop Dogg's company, and we bought a bunch of video games for setting up some computers in the office. So that was like a little unusual, but it was fun.
And so we have a question in the chat about what does CTO stand for? How is that different than CEO? So can you talk a little bit about what your job title means and what your role is with that title?
Absolutely, that's a great question. In technology, there's a lot of letters and jargon and things like that. So I love those questions. So CTO tends to refer to somebody who's a little more focused on the tech part of the company. A CEO,
Chief Technology Officer.
Yes, correct. That would be Chief Technology Officer. Another role similar to Chief Technology Officer is Chief Information Officer. They're somewhat similar, but CTO is a little more tech, CIO is a little more business. And then lastly, real quick, Chief Executive Officer, CEO, would sort of be the top, sort of the coach of the whole team.
And so did you bring someone on to do that kind of work in your company?
Yes. So I have a CTO, I have a CIO, and then I would be the CEO.
Okay, got it. And what made you decide to go into this field or to start your company?
When I was in middle school and high school, which was a few years ago, but I do remember it, and I do have kids. My youngest is 22 and my oldest is 25, and we've had a lot of conversations on high school, middle school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, honestly. Late part of high school, I was sort of thinking, well, I'll try this, I'll try that, but I did know I wanted to do something with business, because I always thought that, hey, if you go into business, I guess you'll do pretty well. I originally wanted to be a doctor, because I thought there's nothing finer than helping somebody who's sick. But I found that the math for me wasn't my thing. I couldn't really do science and math at the collegiate level. So, and I'm also the first person in my family to ever attend college. And so for me, it was really scary. I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there that feel that way about, that's hopefully what we could help you guys with here, with navigating those things, because once you start doing it and get into it, it's not as scary as it seems before you do. But what got me started was basically I was fortunate enough to get a computer when I was fairly young, where now most people have technology at a very early age. And so it kind of came natural to me. And then I started to explore that. And then when I was in my early 20s and going to college, I wasn't still sure what I was going to do. I was a little more business oriented again. And then I said, wait a minute, why not computers? I sort of seemed silly because for a while there, it seemed like it was a hobby and a little bit more of a fun thing. Video games absolutely helped me get into my career. So I'm not saying it's cool to play video games 24/7, but it is a way to get into the business. And I think especially now, probably more than ever. So anyone that says video games are terrible, I say, help me get into my career. So I hope that answers that question. I went a little long on
Yeah,
that.
no, I love that your hobby can become your career.
Yes,
Did
that's
you,
very
so
much
did
the
you have
case.
to change majors, or did your major align with this field, or was there not really the major for it at that?
Definitely at the time when I was going to college, it was a little challenging to go down a full tech path. So that's why one of the reasons why I chose a little more of a business tech path, so that I had some business understanding to provide some more of the tech understanding. So whereas now, though, working with many people, mentoring people, there's a wide array of things that young people can go into, which I'm like so jealous, because I wish I want to pick from this wide array of stuff. I mean, there's, tech now, as everybody knows, it's really can go into any field. Whereas before, when I was going into the field, it was more of a thing where it was like tech, and you went into tech. And so we were a tech, like, in a sense, where now I consider myself a part of other companies. We feel much more of like aligned and part of whatever the company's doing, not just like this separate thing that is sort of in this building somewhere that nobody knows about. So it's a huge difference between then and now. And I think now it couldn't be cooler to have, like, I mean, maybe it's overwhelming, I would argue, because there's so many options. And when I was younger, one of the things I was taught very early was focus and pick something. Because I was like, what about this? What about that? I want to learn this. I want to learn that. And then my mentor said, learn this, stick with that, just start, and then change from there. So I highly recommend doing that. It can be like, I don't know if I want to do this. Maybe I want to be a programmer. Maybe I want to go into security. Try it. Try programming. Try security. You don't have to be great at it. Just try it. Learn it a little bit. And then also keep in mind, creative is very much a part of tech now, because there's, as we know, content creation is huge. So, that wasn't really a thing that I recall back 20 years ago, but very important right now. Any type of content creation mixed with a technology role, supporting content creators, super helpful and really fun too. I think that's like super fun. I really enjoy it. A little bit like what we're doing today.
Yeah, what are some of the sort of personality traits or interests that might align someone with this type of work, do you think?
I would say it's definitely a field for somebody who likes it. I would say that's really important because this can be a very stressful field. We deal with high pressure. We deal with time-sensitive systems that keep things running and have to function in order for people to be able to do various jobs, whether it's in medicine or for business. And so having a calmness, a patience, I think is important. You could certainly go into technology and go into a little bit of a different field that maybe didn't have as much of a pressure aspect to it. But my role specifically, I kind of see myself as the emergency room technology person, where I'm not the quiet going to the doctor maybe just to have them check out your foot or do a physical. I'm the emergency room where it's kind of on fire when we get called. So having the ability to manage that is really important. And that's just a field that I ended up going into that more because frankly, it's the most fun. I see the most action, the most intensity in those environments. And I have a focusing mind when I get in the environment. I tend to get really clear, very focused. And so it's worked for me.
Do you need to be a people person also, or is there a lot of just time with your screens and devices?
That's a great question. I would say there are paths in technology for people skilled people, and there's also paths in technology for people that are maybe not so people centric. Maybe they're like, yeah, I don't really want to talk to people. I just want to kind of like do my thing. I have people I work with all the time that are like that. So you could kind of do both. Personally, I think a blend of the two is really helpful. But just so you know, we're inclusive, we're supportive of people that are a little more quiet on topics, don't want to speak up, want to have a little less. There's certainly a path for you in technology. I mean, to me, it's certainly, I would say, if all the things that I would want to really message here is we need people in this field to diversify it more. We need people of all ethnicities, races, diversity, genders. We need to diversify. The field is far more diverse than it was when I started, but nowhere near enough. And so whenever I have an opportunity to work in a more diverse environment, I'm just thrilled to death, because we just have such a collaboration and sharing of ideas and people that is huge. So I think that's where I think some of those people skills tends to help with that sort of challenge that the technology world is facing in terms of trying to be more inclusive. So yeah, sorry, I had to put that out there because I'm a huge fan of that. I want to see more people of all everywhere come into the space and contribute.
Yes. So important. Thank you. We have a question in the chat. And this is like, I don't know, always a hard question to answer. What do you do in a typical day? Is there a typical day?
Yeah, right. I know, right. Typical day. Yes, I'd say a typical day is we are always monitoring various aspects of our systems. So a typical day would be wake up in the morning, take a quick look at sort of see if anything is what we would call an alarm, or we call it essentially an urgent matter. It could be something very time sensitive that we need to respond to. So we always have to be sort of in a mind space where we're flexible to adjust. My family knows that I have a schedule that at times might require me to be flexible. I always have to let people know ahead of time, and then have my coworkers cover for me. It's just my brother-in-law is a firefighter, and I see I see a lot of parallels there, where they go to work and they're prepared for their job, but they don't know what's going to happen that night. So that's essentially a little bit of what we do about half the time. The other half the time in our day is we focus on things that we need to be doing to ensure that systems are running well. I call that maintenance, and just various things to improve, upgrade. We're always changing. This field is ridiculous with change, which to me is one of the things I love the most, because I feel like this is a fountain of youth type career path where literally you're not getting stale. Like if you get stale or you get behind in this field, it's really kind of maybe you just got a little tired and you didn't want to keep up, because the field is just moving you always. Like, this year it's something new, next year something new. And so getting used to that, getting excited about it. I mean, it's like new iPhone. All right, cool. What's new? We need to do that always, because we need to get ahead of it so we understand it. And then when people come to us and go, hey, I'm having trouble with my new iPhone, we're like, okay, cool. Here, we can help you with that. So
what's an example of one of the fires that you would have to put out? Like when something goes wrong and someone calls you, what like specifics?
We would have, say, for example, I'll speak from like a security perspective. So one of the things that's very important, that's happening a lot right now, that is really relevant to the people that hopefully are hearing this, is the ability that, like, the world of going into tech security, IT security, is very different as of this year and last year, post-pandemic. So a good example of that is we might get, like, I'll give you a real example from last week. It was the Easter weekend holiday, whenever that was, just recently. It was 12 noon. I got an alert on my phone that said one of the people that we manage, a company and a person that we manage, their email account was being hacked. Literally, the monitoring systems that we have that watch for that was alerting us saying, wait a minute, someone in Germany is actively hacking your account. Not just like trying to break in once or twice, like full on attack. So we got an alert, and it said it was a severe, like red, we have a certain level of severity. It was a severe. And so we immediately went into action, on the spot. I said, I'll be there in a minute, honey, I have to go on the computer. And I talked to my team and we had it neutralized within 20 minutes.
Wow,
So
that's fast.
that would be a red alert. We call that, we had an indication of a compromise. We needed to act on it quick, and we needed to basically shut it down. And so that is basically what I would call the new norm, which is we're always on alert for some sort of, we call them adversaries, with bad guys, criminals, scammers, but in the cybersecurity world, it's officially referred to as an adversary. And we're in a 24/7, 7-day a week, the adversaries are trying to hack everywhere. Not just like once in a while, we see a thing here and there. That was like 10 years ago. It'd be like, oh, we got a virus. There's a virus. Oh, okay. Now, 24/7. And so, and it ranges from just some simple dumb stuff, like people trying to like do some like little, what we call like kitty hacking. And then we have sophisticated hacking that's at a very high level that is extremely dangerous, that we don't see as often, thankfully. But what we saw in that example I gave earlier was something similar to that, where we needed to respond fast, because severe hack attempt goes from small to medium to large very fast. So the quicker we can shut it down, the faster we can contain it and basically avoid it. And then at that point, they usually go away because they're like, oh, dang, these guys are on it. Shoot, we're gonna go find somebody else that doesn't know what they're doing.
Sounds like there's a lot of need and opportunity there for.
Oh, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. There's every meeting I'm in, people are like, we can't hire people fast enough. We need people to train for this. We need skills in this. And so I read something, I can't remember where it was. I should have saved it, but it was like, it's like a year or two ago. It was an article about career paths. I was probably talking to my kids and working with somebody I was mentoring. And they said, if you wanted a career that you had guaranteed for the next like 50 years, go into cyber tech and cybersecurity and you're good, because it's not going away. And
we have a question.
Yeah.
What courses or classes did you have to take to do this type of job? So maybe you can talk a little bit more about, like, obviously this wasn't your first job out of college, so maybe that trajectory as well.
Well, actually, interestingly enough, I was very fortunate in high school. My first job in high school, my junior year, was to work for a small company and do what we call data entry, which is sort of not so much of a phrase we talk about much, but I did data entry, which led to my senior year being the tech guy in high school at a small company. And again, I thought I just had a job. I was in college while working. And so I was fortunate enough to get some exposure and experience. So highly recommend, no matter however you can do it, even if you're in a company that seems like, oh, they just bake bread, but do they have computers? Do they have a website? Do they have, you know what I mean? So there's going to be some tech that you can kind of, say, oh, I got to work with Excel or Word. And then as far as education in college, I was focusing on like the broader picture of technology. Like, what does it mean to talk about some aspects of technology relative to two things? One, the foundation of technology, which is super helpful, and college is great for that. And then also, more importantly, cutting edge stuff, like the most cutting edge cool stuff I've ever seen in college. One of my favorite mentors, who is a senior executive at Apple and is responsible for the Siri team. He works in a top secret lab on Siri. I mentored him when he was in middle school, and he called me when he was in college and he said, hey, guess what? We're about to set up the autonomous vehicles. And I was like, what? This is before Tesla. Nobody knew what Tesla was. He was working on autonomous vehicles with the government. And I was like, wow, I mean, cars are going to drive by themselves? And he learned that in college. That was like way before anybody knew what the heck a self-driving car was. And so, yeah, college is where it's happening, between Bitcoin, crypto, the metaverse, whether it's like working on, I was talking to my son's kids this weekend who are developing video games for Activision. I mean, they're literally taking classes in college, working with a program called Unity. Highly recommend, watch some stuff on Unity and just get familiar with it. Like, you could literally start practicing at home. Unity, Linux is another thing. Start practicing with it. Just start playing with it. Watch a couple videos, download some stuff, get your hands on it. And then from there, keep in mind the concept that everything builds on top of it, right? And it's not like you're just gonna like jump in and become a programmer in like 3 months. Not that you couldn't, you could. I mean, but generally, like in about 6 months, I'd say 1 year of like anything that you're working on focused, you're gonna get like, that's really valuable. Like you could get a job from that, right? I can't guarantee that, but I'm like, to me, that's what I would look for, and that's what other people would look for. Like if you're like, I worked on Unity for a year, I did some stuff, we'd be like, cool, has the ability to grow and learn. That's what we're looking for.
Mm.
You don't need to know everything. You don't have to come in and go, oh gosh, like Google might say, well, I want 5 years of this, and I have a big list of stuff, you need to know to work at Google. Of course they do that because they're trying to find sort of the superstars, right? And there are people that do that. But the reality is, this is what they never say. And I know because I work with Google, they're looking for everybody, right? They need more people than that are out there. So they're messaging, we want the best, and you got to do all this stuff. But what they're not saying is, oh, by the way, oh, you had a couple years of experience. Oh yeah, we'll talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you seem like an interesting, well-rounded, diverse, and eager to learn person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, learning is my number one. I would say, if anything, in the field that I love more than I love two things. I love working with people, and I love learning. Those are so to me, this field is, for me, it works great. And I have my best friend who in college, he doesn't like working with people, although he has good people skills. He's a programmer, and he spends more time in front of his computer than he does talking to people. And so you could do that as well.
We have a few minutes left, and there's another question. It says, can you talk a little bit about salary possibilities? So
absolutely. So in the tech space, I mean, we've seen it in the last 5 to 10 years. Like there's more billionaires on the planet that come out of technology. So the sky is really the limit when it comes to tech. And I'm not going to say like, but
what about some entry level or some sort of mid-career?
Yeah, I would say some early starting tech jobs are like in the 20 to 30K range, right? For like, just get your foot in the door, right? And then or if you get some experience and you go to college, you get a degree, get like kind of back it up, easily come out of there at 60 to 100K. I have a USC grad friend that I mentored that graduated, works at SpaceX now, and she's making $125,000. So,
nice.
And she's like 2 years out of college.
Wow.
So I would say, the path to earning more is really like, there's not a lot of like, oh, you can't go past that. Oh, you can't, like, it's really like you put into the more,
not a ceiling.
No, exactly. There's a lot of room in there. Just know that when you first start, if you're kind of like getting your foot in the door, it might be like, well, we're going to kind of give you like, start you at like 20 to 30. But if you can get a year of experience doing that, jump on it. Because the next year after that, you'll be worth 60 or more. That's my advice. Get your foot in the door. And then the money will follow. When I started in this career, I wasn't going into it for the money. I wasn't like, okay, I need to make this much. I was like, I love what I'm doing. Oh my God, I'm getting paid. This is crazy. I can't believe I'm getting paid. And then I was like, whoa, I'm making pretty good money. And it's a career. I mean,
yeah, it sounds like a great career where you can be working and building your skills at the same time.
Absolutely.
And education seems to just help you grow.
Absolutely. I would not call it a job. This is totally a career. It's absolutely a career by a mile.
And it sounds like mentoring has played a pretty big role, both in you mentoring, and you've had some mentors as well.
100%. I think the collaboration and the working with other team members in tech is super fun. I love working with people like me that are older and been in the business for 20 years. I love working with young people because I can't know everything. And I have tremendous respect for young people that can do amazing things with devices and technology that I'm like, whoa, that's like a superpower. So yeah, no, and I'm like, how'd you do that? Can you show me some tricks? So, and actually that's been one of my secret sort of like ways of keeping up with stuff is I just always ask people. So instead of like, oh, I'm gonna go learn that by myself, and I'm like, 6 months later, I'm still learning it when I could have talked to my friend who helped me like show me some stuff. So But yeah.
We only have 3 minutes left. I know you had a couple of pictures. Do you want to end with that?
Yeah, sure. I'll show a couple pictures real quick of some cool events that I would have never in a million years thought that tech would have, like, my career would have gone in this direction. But within the last couple of years, I've got to spend some time. You can see my screen now.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I got to work at SpaceX, and that's one of their first rockets that they launched, and they have in their office over there, their headquarters here in Southern California, and they are hiring like crazy. They can't stop hiring. The numbers are ridiculous, and young people too, all like people right out of college. So SpaceX, I do some work with them. And then after that, right actually around the block from SpaceX is a PUBG esports arena. And so my company got to work with that facility in space to help set up the PUBG World Championship. And so I was like, oh my God, this is like tech heaven in here. Does it get any cooler than that? So definitely got some street cred with my son who's plays PUBG. And I was like, because I've only played twice and I get killed in 10 seconds. So I'm like, all right, not my game. I'll play Elden Ring. And so, and then this is at the Overwatch World Cup. I got to work with Activision Blizzard, and they have an insane amount of technology like running their esports events. And so, you know, it's just another, this is like a whole other field of technology, this esports field that is just so brand new and evolving. And, you know, sky's the limit on where it's going to go. So,
and we should mention that you also do some work for Fulfillment Fund and help support nonprofits and people trying to make the world a better place. So thank you for giving your time to that as well.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I honestly, this to me is like, I love doing this. This is fun stuff. So I want to try to encourage people to just, you know, get that passion and try to find something that seems cool and interesting, and then, you know, turn it into a career, and then figure out how to, like, you know, stay in it for 20 years or stay in it for 5 years. I mean, you know, so many different cool things that you could do. So I hope that's the takeaway from today is, you know, I want you guys to feel inspired and know that you guys are in major demand. Seriously, people that go down this path, they're sought after all the time.